I'm Julie Faith-Ann Balzer, your host for Make It Artsy. Today, we are starting with the basic building blocks of art, and Lynne Suprock is gonna lay the foundation by making paper. Hi, Lynne.
Hi, Julie.
So I'm super excited that we get to make paper.
I'm really excited too. It's a great way to take recycled paper and make it to something wonderful.
Awesome, so how do we start?
Okay, well, the first thing we do is we get some scrap paper. When you get the recycled things that come in the mail.
I was gonna say, not hard at my house.
Well, in mine either. So to make it special though, we wanna add something a little special to it. So my formula for that is I usually will just take a piece of regular office copy paper of a receipt or something that I've printed. I'll use an envelope, take the sticky part off because you don't want it to gum in the blender. And then we're gonna use a very, very important or a memorabilia type of card that we want to add. So that's the basic formula, and I have another stack over here. And then for today I prepared a stack already. You rip it into very small pieces and you add it to a blender. 4 cups of water, and you want to.
Now, can you use a blender that you use for food also?
You want to dedicate it to crafting. Okay. Yeah, that was the thing. You don't want it, because you don't know really what's in the paper. Lots of colors and dyes. So this is a 30 to 40 second process that you really have to spin it down and slurry it up. So I've already done that, and I have another blender, so we're going to use that and just swap it out. And this is kind of what it looks like when that is all slurried up.
It's so funny that that small, what I think of as a small amount of paper actually makes what seems like an enormous amount of slurry.
It does, it does. And I like a little extra paper in my process. I use it for crafting, and it's just the down and dirty. It's just basic crafting paper. It's not used for fine writing skills. And what I'm going to do to this batch here is I have some additives that I brought along, and the additives go in last. And they only take 1 or 2 seconds to slurry into that to mix. And some examples of additives are little flowers, pressed flowers, roses, things from your kitchen.
So let me make sure I have like the formula right. You just put 3 pieces of paper into that blender
basically
to make all of that, and now you're gonna add, what do you have in there?
I have some chipotle chips or some like pepper pieces, and then sesames, because I mix them. So it's kind of like a hot recipe for the paper. So I'm gonna add a little bit of that, and then goes into the top just like that. Just sprinkle as much as you'd like.
You could add glitter. You could add embossing powder. You could add mica. You could add, I'm getting excited. I'm gonna add everything.
You can add everything. So we're gonna have 2 seconds here on 1, 2, and we're finished with that.
You weren't kidding when you said it was fast.
Right, because you don't want to chop up all your flowers and seeds and whatnot. So from here, I'm going to pour this mix.
Now, I know that you're pouring it into this sort of frame contraption, and when you're done with that, maybe you'll explain to us exactly how you made that frame.
Sure. I'm going to take this after I've poured it into a basin that's already full of water so that it's even with this mold and deckle.
Okay.
And then I'm going to just shift it around like a gold miner, and I'm going to move it, and I'm going to
for gold.
Right, panning for slurry paper gold, and I'm just going to let it drip. Move that out of the way, and when I place it down like that, I'm going to take the rubber bands on, which I've added just to keep stability to the mold and deckle. Now,
so if we look for just 1 second, because I know you called this a fancy name, and I just want to be sure I have it. So you called it a mold and deckle, and what it essentially looks like to me is a picture frame?
It's really, this is the easy way to do it, a picture frame too. I like a shadow box frame because it's deeper, and that part is called the mold, because it's actually molding the edges of the paper.
Now, I can feel that it has some foam on it.
Yes, I made mine, and we'll have directions on how to do that on the Make It Artsy website, but it is a weather stripping foam, so it's really
cool. And then
really
there's just screen of some kind attached to what looks like a picture frame.
It's a nylon screening attached to another 8x10 picture frame, and it's a small frame because it's the deckle part, or it's the part that we're going to strain everything out.
And I can see, obviously, you just put rubber bands around it, and then you end up with the magic of what you have right there.
Right, and what we have is just this wet, goopy piece of slurried paper, and you're going to take some more of that nylon netting and just place it right over.
Could you add things into it right now at this point before you put the netting? Like if you wanted to lay in, let's say, a shape or another color or something, could you do that?
Good question. You can experiment, and let's see what you come up with. I have added shapes to it by using rubber stamps in the past. This is also going to give a bit of a texture because it is nylon netting. And you may not like that, or you may like that. I love that. So I use that and don't have a problem adding anything else. But yes, you can add some shapes to it. So what we do right now is these are cellulose sponges, which are very absorbent. I go through on top of the screening so I don't pull any paper.
I was gonna say, I noticed that you're padding, you're not rubbing.
I'm padding because I just want to get that extra water out of there. And I'll do that several times with a couple different sponges. When I'm finished, with this step, I'll take off my netting, and then I have my paper right here, and I want to flip that over so that I can do the other side, and I have one that I've already flipped over here, and then you take your sponges again, go across. You don't have to do it as many times because it's already pretty dry, right? And then the last little part is this paper towel, because the paper towel will take all that water out, and then that makes this really magical, and I really love it because it's easy. It just comes off like that.
Right off.
Yes, and I'll just hand that to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so when we have it this to here, you can see it looks pretty awesome, right? You can see my little
cool.
seeds and everything. And the last thing you have to do is take this oven mat. This goes into the oven at 500.
It's just like a silicone mat of
right,
some kind.
it's very thin. It can take 500 degrees.
And again, this is craft dedicated, not something you use for food.
You're not going to do the cookies once you do this. You just don't want to do that. So you're just going to flip this whole section over onto that oven mat.
How many times have you flipped it over and have it like fall apart or anything, or does it really not?
This is so zen, Julie. I've never had that happen.
That's awesome.
But if it does, you just ball it all up and start all over. I mean, it's just that easy. And then you would just take this, you would place that in the oven, and my oven formula is about 40 minutes with this mat at 250, and then
Is
that
this
would be
a dedicated toaster oven again?
It's like everything else,
Okay.
it's dedicated because you don't want to really bake.
So now this is obviously cool. I'm not burning myself.
It's a convection as well. That's important to say. Convection is key because the air circulates. Now, normally, if you have several days and you don't have a need to have the paper right away, or you don't want instant gratification, and that's what I like, you can leave that
Just
air
to
dry,
dry.
3-4 days, perfectly dry.
Would you leave it on the silicone mat, or would you leave it on the net, or what's the best way to dry that and air dry
You
it?
can do it either way. If you have a room where there's circulation and fan, this will always be quicker because you can leave it on the mat and it will dry faster.
Cool, and I noticed the color change when it dries from here to here. It gets much lighter.
It does. It lightens up like paint on a wall. And sometimes even the seeds or whatnot that you put in will have their own effect, kind of like a patina or just a watercolor that would run.
It almost looks like rust that I can see in here.
That's right.
And that's the effect you're obviously getting from some of the seeds in there. You know, and if we look at some of these different papers that you've made, they're absolutely gorgeous. They have so many different textures depending what you put in it, what you don't. I can actually see the texture from the screen in a lot of them. And I know you said that you use tissue paper and even envelopes as colorants.
Oh, I want to point this out. Good. The envelopes that you get that are very annoying because who wants a platinum Visa MasterCard on top of all the other things you have? But this is a very nice envelope, and this envelope, just with the extra paper using my formula, will come out like that. Isn't that gorgeous? I added a few little seeds.
Beautiful. Fantastic. And the finished artwork that you've made with this handmade paper is absolutely glorious.